In the heart of New York City, where towering skyscrapers cast long shadows and the constant hum of traffic filled the air, lived Maya, a 32-year-old marketing executive whose life was defined by deadlines and digital screens. Each day, she navigated the concrete jungle from her cramped apartment in Brooklyn to a sleek high-rise office in Manhattan, her motivation fueled by a desire for success and societal approval. Yet, beneath her polished exterior, Maya grappled with a deep-seated emptiness, an emotional state of anxiety and disconnection that left her feeling like a ghost in her own life. Her initial challenges were profound. A recent breakup had shattered her confidence, work stress had led to sleepless nights, and she often found herself questioning the purpose of her relentless hustle. The city's fast pace, once exhilarating, now felt suffocating, amplifying her self-doubt and fear that she was merely going through the motions without any real fulfillment. She coped by burying herself in work, scrolling through social media for fleeting validation, but these mechanisms only deepened her sense of isolation, leaving her yearning for something more meaningful. One rainy evening, as she stared out her window at the glistening streets, a memory from childhood surfaced, her grandmother's stories of finding peace in nature. This sparked a flicker of inspiration, and despite her fears of the unknown, Maya made a bold decision. She would embark on a solo road trip across the United States, seeking clarity beyond the concrete. Packing a small bag and renting a car, she set off with a mix of trepidation and hope, her heart pounding as she left the familiar skyline behind. Driving westward, the landscape slowly transformed from urban sprawl to the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, where she spent her first night in a quiet campground. Alone under a canopy of stars, away from city lights, Maya felt an unfamiliar calm settle over her. She journaled her thoughts, a coping mechanism she had neglected for years, pouring out her fears and frustrations onto paper. This simple act brought a sense of release, and as she reflected, she realized that her anxiety stemmed from a fear of failure and not measuring up to others' expectations. Pushing through initial resistance, she practiced mindfulness, focusing on her breath to quiet the inner critic that had plagued her for so long. In Ohio, she visited a serene lake, where the stillness of the water mirrored the turmoil within her. Sitting by the shore, she confronted her self-doubt head-on, acknowledging that it was okay to feel lost. This moment of vulnerability was a turning point. Instead of fighting her emotions, she embraced them, learning that resilience wasn't about avoiding pain but moving through it with grace. As she journeyed into the vast plains of Kansas, the endless horizons ignited a feeling of empowerment she hadn't felt in years. She stopped at small towns, striking up conversations with strangers who shared their own stories of hardship and hope. One elderly farmer, weathered by decades of labor, told her, "Life's like this land, sometimes barren, sometimes blooming, but always worth tending." His words resonated deeply, helping Maya see that her struggles were part of a larger human experience, not a personal failure. By the time she reached the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, her emotional landscape had shifted dramatically. Hiking a rugged trail, each step was a metaphor for her inner journey. The steep climbs represented her fears, the breathtaking views symbolized moments of clarity. Halfway up, exhaustion set in, and old doubts crept back, whispering that she couldn't make it. But she remembered the farmer's wisdom and pushed on, drawing on an inner strength she hadn't known she possessed. At the summit, as she gazed at the majestic peaks and valleys below, a wave of euphoria washed over her. It was here, in the crisp mountain air, that Maya experienced her spiritual awakening. She realized that clarity wasn't something to be found outside herself, but within, a quiet, unwavering truth that had been obscured by the noise of city life. She understood that her worth wasn't tied to achievements or external validation, but to her ability to connect with her own spirit and the world around her. This epiphany filled her with a profound sense of peace and purpose, erasing the remnants of self-doubt and replacing them with a resilient optimism. Continuing her trip to the deserts of Arizona, she meditated under the vast, starry sky, feeling a deep interconnection with the universe. The solitude, once feared, became a source of strength, teaching her that true empowerment comes from self-acceptance and the courage to be authentically herself. By the time she reached the Pacific Ocean in California, standing on a sandy beach as waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, Maya had transformed. The woman who had left New York anxious and disconnected now radiated a quiet confidence, her heart full of gratitude for the journey. In the end, Maya returned to the city, not as the person she was, but as someone reborn. She integrated her newfound wisdom into her daily life, prioritizing mindfulness, community, and simple joys over relentless ambition. Her story is a testament to the human spirit's capacity for growth, showing that even in the busiest of lives, we can find clarity by stepping away, listening to our inner voice, and embracing the journey with an open heart. May this inspire you to seek your own path from concrete to clarity, knowing that within every struggle lies the seed of transformation, waiting to bloom. Break time equals fives, greater than the sun dipped below the jagged peaks of the Himalayas, casting long shadows across the small village of Serenity Springs, a place where time seemed to slow and the air hummed with ancient whispers. Here, Maya, a young woman in her late 20s, had come seeking refuge from the cacophony of city life, hoping to find clarity after a series of personal setbacks that left her feeling hollow and uncertain. As a graphic designer who had recently lost her job and ended a long-term relationship, she arrived with a heavy heart, her motivation fueled by a desperate need to rediscover purpose. The village, nestled at an altitude that made every breath a conscious effort, was both breathtakingly beautiful and intimidatingly isolated. Initially, Maya struggled with the silence, which amplified her inner turmoil. The quiet mornings felt like a void where her fears of inadequacy and self-doubt echoed loudly. She had always relied on external validation, awards, compliments, the hustle of urban success, but here, surrounded by stoic mountains and resilient locals, she felt small and insignificant. Her first challenge was the physical one, adapting to the thin air and steep trails that wound through the village, each step a reminder of her perceived weaknesses. Emotionally, she grappled with loneliness, often retreating to her modest guesthouse room to journal, pouring out her anxieties onto paper as a coping mechanism. But as days turned into weeks, Maya began to notice the villagers' quiet strength, how they faced harsh winters and scarce resources with a grace that spoke of deep-rooted resilience. Inspired, she decided to volunteer at the local school, teaching art to children whose laughter and boundless creativity slowly chipped away at her cynicism. Yet, the turning point came during a sudden, fierce snowstorm that isolated the village for days, cutting off supplies and communication. Panic set in as food stores dwindled, and Maya found herself thrust into a leadership role, organizing a community effort to ration resources and keep spirits high. In those tense moments, her old fears resurfaced. What if she failed? What if her decisions led to disaster? But as she watched the villagers trust her, sharing stories of past hardships and their unwavering faith in each other, something shifted within her. She realized that resilience wasn't about avoiding fear, but embracing it, using it as fuel to act with compassion and clarity. One evening, huddled around a makeshift fire with the elders, she listened to tales of ancestors who had survived greater trials, and in their wisdom, she saw a reflection of her own potential. The climax arrived when a child fell ill, and Maya, drawing on her inner strength, led a small team on a treacherous night trek to fetch medicinal herbs from a nearby ridge. Every step was a battle against the biting cold and her own self-doubt, but with each breath, she repeated a mantra she had learned from a village elder: strength is not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to move forward despite it. Reaching the ridge, she gathered the herbs under a starlit sky, feeling a profound sense of empowerment wash over her, not from external achievement, but from the realization that she had tapped into a well of inner fortitude she never knew she possessed. Returning to the village, the child recovered, and as the storm subsided, Maya stood at the edge of a cliff, watching the sunrise paint the peaks in hues of gold and pink. In that moment, she understood that her journey wasn't about escaping her past, but about integrating her struggles into a stronger, wiser self. The lesson she learned was simple yet profound: true resilience blooms in adversity, and wisdom is forged in the fires of challenge, reminding us that we are all capable of more than we imagine. As she prepared to leave Serenity Springs, Maya carried with her not just memories, but a renewed spirit, ready to face life's uncertainties with grace and gratitude. Her story is a testament to the human spirit's ability to transform pain into power, leaving us with an inspiring message: no matter how unseen the path, the strength to walk it lies within, waiting to be discovered in the quiet moments of courage and connection.